anybody's name on it? Did you see a name?
No.
Then you'd be all right.
You know the funny thing is when my in-laws went to church, we're just sitting and then when they get to the church, they moved back here to Malawi. And then we just kind of moved where we're at. So weird.
Here's my thing. I ain't the name on it. You know.
Yeah.
And if they get mad, just go.
Smile.
Just go.
You're really sweet. You just sit beside me.
Yeah. You just look at them. Oh, bless you.
I've been sitting in the same spot since the church. Mrs. Go up here and sit.
Grab a seat, guys.
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you guys for joining us this morning. We are blessed today to have Dan Brewer with us. He is involved in ministry in Malawi that we've been supporting. In fact, if you remember the last couple of months, we've been collecting toilet paper rolls. Those are for this ministry. They're going to be stuffed with paper, and then they're going to be fire starters. Really simple, useful tool for people who are in kind of a different situation than we are. We just turn on the furnace and we're good to go. Maybe not the last couple of weeks we've been good to go, but for the most part, you turn on the furnace and it's warm enough. But in Malawi, they need to be able to start fires, so we've been collecting supplies to send out with him, and he is here to share with us a little bit about what we've been supporting. And please join me in welcoming Dan Brewer.
It is.
Do I need to stand up here? Can I be down here? Is that okay?
Wherever you want to be.
Okay. So let me share before I get into Malawi. I've been on the board of the Malawi project for about 9 years now. And I've learned 3 things that will always stick with me while on the board. The first is this, that we as Americans have a lot of stuff. If you're like me, I've got a garage. I've got a 3-car garage full of stuff. I've got almost every closet in my house full of stuff, and I've got 2 storage spaces full of stuff. So we tend to collect a lot of stuff as Americans. The second thing I've learned is that we as Americans, and especially people in the church, are very generous with their stuff. We just are. And so when I hear people say that people in the church aren't giving and they don't care, that's not true. We are very generous. We in the Malawi project, we send about 12 shipping containers full of stuff over to Malawi every year. Each one is worth about $2.5 million, the stuff in there, and it's all donated. So you can't tell me that Christians aren't generous with stuff. The third thing I've learned is that most congregations already have ministries that they support. And I know you all support Haiti pretty heavily, and that's pretty true of most congregations. They have 2 or 3 or 4 that they support, and they're all good ministries. And they're all needy. There's so much need in our world for support. And so I say that to say I'm not here this morning to try to get you to shift funds from an important ministry to the Malawi project. That's not my purpose this morning. Now, if you wanted to do that, I wouldn't say no, but that's not the purpose. I just want to inform you about what we're doing there. And as Michael said, we're collecting toilet paper rolls. I've got some things you can do that don't cost you anything, won't take anything away from what you're doing in other areas. So that's kind of my approach there. How many of you know anything about Malawi? Okay, that's kind of the same thing I had when I first heard about it. So let me give you a little bit of background on Malawi. Can we go to the next slide? So Malawi is in southeastern Africa. It is called the warm heart of Africa, bordered on kind of the southeast and west by Mozambique, and then Zambia on the west. On the east side is Lake Malawi. It's a big freshwater lake, a lot of tourism there. So that's kind of one of their draws there. It is completely landlocked. So when we talk about shipping, it costs more because it has to come into Mozambique, get taken off the ship, put on a truck, and trucked across to compare the country of Malawi to the state of New York, size-wise, it's almost the same. Population-wise, it's pretty close to the same. Now, when it comes to money and income, very different. So the average income in Malawi is $202 a month. Now, understand there are some big cities where there's some wealthy people, just like every country has. But out in the villages, there's a lot of people where that average would be great if they could make $200 a month, because they make almost nothing. In New York, it's $7,965 a month. And again, I understand in New York it costs a lot more to live than it does in Malawi. So that's, kind of dependent on where you're living as to how wealthy you are. The annual budget, and I bring this up because when I first started working with Malawi, and I'll share some of the things we're sending over toward the hospitals, and I'll show you a couple of pictures of the hospitals there. And my thought was, well, why doesn't the government just fund all this? Why don't they buy stuff for the hospital? Why don't they take care of that? I think it was in 21, 22, those 2 years, their annual budget in Malawi, this is their country's annual budget, was $1.95 billion per year. So compare that with New York, which is $220 billion per year. So the government just doesn't have the money. They don't have a lot of resources. So they are very impoverished countries. When they say, well, they just can't get it, they just can't get it. So just for comparison, the state with the lowest annual budget, does anybody know what state, or want to guess what state has the lowest annual budget? It's Maryland. And they do about $8.3 billion per year. So they have about a third of the population of Malawi with about 3 or 4 times the budget. So they just don't have the money. All right, let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So the Malawi project was started in 1998 by Dick and Susie Stevens. Dick was a marketing guy, did a lot of marketing. Susie was a nurse, spent her life working in the hospital. They were members at the Southwest Congregation in Indianapolis, joined the mission team. Their first meeting, they went through all the different missions they supported, and one of them was Malawi. So Dick raised his hand and said, I don't know anything about Malawi. What can you tell me about Malawi? He got blank stares from everybody. They were sending money over every month, but nobody had a clue what was going on. So they decided then and there that any mission they supported, somebody on the team would be personally involved. And of course, because Dick raised his hand, they said, you got Malawi. So about 6 months later, they were on a plane going to Malawi. They were supporting a place called the Nimikanga mission there. They went, they spent a couple weeks there. And Dick said that they had kind of decided beforehand that after the visit, they would decide if this is something they wanted to be involved in or not. And so they're on the plane coming back, and Dick's thinking, well, I don't know if we really want to be involved in this, if this is something we can do. And he looked over at Susan and he said, well, what do you think? And Susie said, well, I think we should build the hospital first. And Dick said, that told me we're going to be involved there. So they did. They came back, raised the money, built Blessings Hospital. They then raised the money and built a place called the Matindere Village, which is about 100 houses for orphan kids. And so those things still operate. They've done some other things, and it's gone through some iterations over the years in what it is now. But they are the catalyst behind it. They are still kind of the backbone and the heart and soul of the project. Next slide. So our current board has 7 members, 8 members. I can count, right? Yeah, we just added some. We have 3 members of board positions, if you will, that are required by law: the chairman, the secretary, and the treasurer. The chairman and the treasurer just turned over. We had 2 people leave the board for various reasons. They're still involved in just doing other things. Ron Popberg is our chairman. He's out of Pueblo, Colorado, brand new in the position since January. On the other side, the not real world side, but the paying side, he is part of the World Bible School, and he is in charge of Africa, so he's over there quite a bit doing that. Jeanette Stonecker took over as treasurer. She's out of Hilliard, Ohio, and I get excited by that because she's also my daughter, so it's neat to have her on the board. So I'm kind of keep tabs on her and get her involved. Hopefully we can go over there and spend some time over there together. Mark Thieston, he is the secretary out of Vancouver. His sister, Robin Clay, at the bottom, just joined in January. They are children of missionaries from Malawi. Dick and Susie Stevens still on the board, and they keep me around for some reason, not sure why, but they do. And then Larry Farrell just joined the board about 3 or 4 months ago. So that's our board. We are all 100% volunteers. We don't get paid for anything. Anything we do, we pay out of pocket for. If we go to Malawi, we pay out of pocket. Driving up here, I pay out of pocket, which is, I enjoy it, I love it. But yeah, so all your money, if you give money to the Malawi project, it goes to them. We don't have that overhead. All right, next slide. All right, so I'm not going to read this, and it's probably too small for you to read it. That's our mission statement. Really what we're about doing is empowering the Malawi people to take over, to do things on their own. You know the saying, give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day, teach him how to fish, and he'll have food for life. We're trying to teach them how to fish, right? To set them up. So anything we build over there goes to the Malawi people. We don't own property, we don't do anything that is not going to go to the Malawi people. They run and control everything. And that's important because I think something that we have done as a church, in the home, when we send missionaries over, we tend to want to control them, right? We're paying them, they should do what we say. And we take the locals out of it, which is a mistake, because they should have control of things. And eventually, our goal as the Malawi project is to pull out and let them run things, which is kind of difficult because we're not used to that. So if there's a decision to be made, they will automatically refer to us, and it's like, no, you're going to tell us what to do. So that's our goal. Areas of focus: agricultural, medical, education, disaster relief, mobility, and evangelism. And I intentionally put evangelism at the bottom. It's not that we don't do evangelism, but we don't have your typical missionary over there. We're not supporting ministers. We're not building churches. But everything we do goes through the churches over there. So we asked Wilson a couple years ago, we were getting asked by supporters, well, how many people are being baptized because of this? How many people are coming to the church because of this? That's what you see from a lot of missionaries, right? They want to quantify how many. And we asked Wilson that, and he kind of looked at us and like, I have no idea. He said, we do good things for people through the church. People join the church. The churches are growing because of what we do. But I have no idea how many, and I'm not going to figure it out. So we stopped asking because he's not going to tell us because he doesn't know. And our support is not only to people that are members of the church. If there's somebody that's hungry, we're going to feed them. They could be Catholic, atheist, Democrat. No, I don't know what their political
Line somewhere.
But we don't differentiate. We help people that need help. And I think that's consistent with Jesus' ministry. I don't see him saying, well, I'll heal you if you join my movement. He healed people because they needed it. That's our goal and our focus. All right, next slide. All right, so we set up a sister board, if you will, 3 or 4 years ago. It's called Action for Progress. It is their board of directors over there. They now control what we do. What we do goes through them. They make the decisions. If you want to go ahead and go to the next slide. So this is their board. It is composed of entirely of Malawians. They are professionals. They are leaders. They are people that know how to get things done. And they are the ones controlling things over there now. All right, next. So Wilson Timble, he is the executive director for Action for Progress. Everything we do goes through him. He is a very smart guy, college educated. He could probably get a job in their civilian sector over there making 2 or 3 times what we pay him. But he has a love for the people. And he has a love for Dick and Susie Stevens too. He's kind of like an adopted son to them. So he's there. There's rumor he may quit Action for Progress and run for office, but we'll see if he does. He would be a good asset for that too. All right, next. All right, let's talk real quick about finances. I know I told you I wasn't here asking for money, but everybody wants to know what are you doing with the money. It's an important thing. So I'm going to go to the next one. Our budget is about $175,000 to $200,000 annually. Not a big budget when you look at nonprofits, but that's about what we get. Most of our income comes from individual donations. And I didn't understand this. I served as treasurer for 2 or 3 years. And I didn't understand that until then because you think, well, it's only a $10 donation, but you get a $10 donation and a $10 donation and a $10 donation. And before you know it, that's where your money is coming from. So for us, individual donations is the biggest pot. We have congregations that give quite a bit. We get money from grants. We started tapping into some grants for bigger purchases. And then other organizations. And I didn't put up there, maybe I should have, but the board of directors typically gives about 20% of our income. So that's one thing, if you ever look at nonprofits, you want to look at what's the board of directors doing. Really involved. I would not ask someone to give money to a program that I don't give to. So the board of directors is very involved. Expenses, again, Action for Progress. Wilson is a full-time employee, and I think there's 2 or 3 other full-time employees that we support right now. We're trying to get them to where they're raising funds and doing different things to cover some of their own expenses. Shipping is a big expense. Like I said, we send about 12 trailers, shipping containers of stuff over. They cost about $15,000 per shipping container. So I talked to Dick. I was up in Indiana Friday, and I talked to Dick, and he's got enough stuff in our warehouse to send over next shipping container as soon as we get funds for it. So it's amazing looking in there. He got, I don't know, 3,000 or 4,000 brand new pair of shoes donated by Walmart. So we got stacks of shoes on pallets ready to go over for him. So, but that's our biggest expense there, and then emergency items as needed. Right now they are going through a famine. I think I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get there, but we got the notice just before Thanksgiving that this was happening. We raised, I think, about $75,000 to send over specifically for famine relief. So they're purchasing the food and distributing it. We do have some expenses here, our storage and insurance, very minor expenses, but there are some things that we do pay for here. But other than that, everything goes over to support the people of Malawi. All right, next slide. So shipping supplies, I said we send a lot of stuff over. We'll walk through these pretty quick. We get stuff, and I don't know how it all comes in, but it does. There are times when the doctor's office in Washington will shut down. Somebody will call Susie and say, hey, can you use this stuff? And the next thing you know, it's in the warehouse ready to go. And it's all kinds of stuff that somebody's not going to use here, but they can certainly use there. All right, next slide. All right, so this is some of the things that we had shipped over in 2024. Like I said, we don't support a minister per se, but we do send a lot of Bible correspondence, some church outreach stuff over for them. And then all the other stuff, mobility units. I think over the course of the last 5 or 6 years, we've sent probably 3,000 mobility units over. And I'll show you a picture of those. Those are pretty cool. Just different stuff that is shipped over there. Next slide. Okay, so we get stuff, as I said, everything goes into Lebanon, Indiana. We've got a warehouse there to collect stuff. It's cataloged, it's palletized, wrapped up. And then you go ahead and go to the next slide. It's put on shipping containers and shipped over. It takes about 3 months for it to get there. Because it has to go to the coast and then it has to put on the ship and it goes over, gets unloaded, and gets sent. Next slide. Okay, this is a distribution center there. It was built about 4 or 5 years ago. Big building. Everything comes in there. And I think we can probably go to the next slide too. So they unload it, they categorize it, they make sure everything is there. Wilson then reaches out to people in the local community. If it's medical supplies, he goes to the government medical office. He's got a point of contact there. He says, here's what we've got. Where do you need it? They say, well, we need it at this hospital or wherever, so that's where it gets sent to. If it's food and stuff, then Wilson goes out. And when we send out food, it goes to the local churches. So they get together, the leaders of the churches get together, and they say, well, we have this family that needs food and this family that needs food, and that's how it gets distributed. So they make the decision, so it's not just a mass rush on things. It's very orderly and very deliberate how things are distributed. All right, next slide. All right, so let me talk a little bit about some of the current conditions in Malawi. As I said, they are a very poor country. They don't have a lot, but if you want to go to the next slide, if you don't track them, but about a year and a half ago, it went in country, went through Mozambique, across Malawi, turned around and came back out. And so they got hit with it going in, hit with it going out, destroyed crops, destroyed villages. A lot of damage in southern Malawi was done. They're still reeling from that. There was another cyclone that went through just 3 or 4 months ago. So they're really struggling with food. And their main source of income there, most people are agricultural, so most people try to grow their own food, which is unfortunate because the soil and the climate are not conducive to that. So they really struggle to grow food. Throw on top of that cyclones and that damage. They estimate that from this famine, about 5 million people will die. You know, we see airplane crashes that kill 50 or 60, and that's a tragedy. But if you're looking at 5 million people starving to death, that's terrible. And that shouldn't be in our world. There's enough food to feed them. We just got to figure out how to get it there. So we're not the only ones sending aid. There are a lot of different groups sending aid. And they're also recovering from a cholera outbreak. So, you know, one thing hits them when they get through that, and then another thing hits them. So they're really struggling. Okay, this is some of the pictures I took while I was over there. I was there about 2.5 years ago. This is one of the hospitals, and this is a regional hospital, serves about 50,000 people. You know, we go to the hospital, and if we're lucky, we get a private room. If not, we share a room with somebody. This is their rooms in Malawi. And the interesting thing there is, you know, we go to the hospital and the bed's made, and I spend a little time in the hospital. One of my favorite things was the warm sheets. Anybody else? The nurse come in, would you like more? Oh yeah, give me that warm sheet. I love that. Well, they don't have warm sheets there. They don't have any sheets there. The family is responsible for everything. So if you want bedding, the family has to bring it. If you want fed, the family has to feed you. So it's very, very remote. Now in the bigger cities, there are some better hospitals, but in the smaller towns, out in the villages, they have hospitals, but it's really just a hut with almost nothing there. But the hospitals are not good. And again, my question was always, well, why doesn't the government do it? Well, they just don't have the resources. So when we talk about hospital care there, it is not good. The families, we went to a staging area for the families because they have to be around to take care of the patient. It was down the road up a back alley. Kind of looked like somebody had an area with a garbage dump, and that's where they let the families stay. And why don't you go ahead and go to the next slide? I'm not sure if I got that. If not, I didn't. So anyway, the hospitals there are not good. They're not sanitary. We send a lot of hospital supplies over hoping to improve that. One of the days we went, we handed out food, and as I said, it's very orderly. That first picture, that is the church leaders there. They're getting together. I mean, you see, maybe they got all the bicycles in the background of the tree. That's how they got there. But they get there and they decide who gets what food. The second picture, bigger picture, is the people getting the food. So what they do, the church leaders get little tabs of paper, and if they recognize somebody, know they're one of the ones that get food, they give them a piece of paper. When they get up to the truck, they trade the paper for the food. And then everybody stays there until it's all done so they don't circle back and get back in line again. So very, very orderly, very deliberate. The smaller picture there was a little girl there, and she wasn't having any of it. She wanted nothing to do with us. She couldn't get her to smile, couldn't get her to do anything. We did figure out how to get the kids to smile, so we had to tag team them. So one of us would take their picture, and then we would go up and show it to them. And as soon as they saw their picture, they would smile, and then the other person would get their picture. It was interesting working with the kids. They're a great, great group of kids. All right, next slide. So this is one of the villages we visited. The first upper picture, that's one of the huts there. Just a typical hut. That one does have a door on it. Most of them don't. They have openings for doors, but no doors. And as you get further out from the city, you see that. At first, there's decent huts with good roofs and doors and windows, and then there's more austere huts. And then once you get further out, there's huts, and they have the holes for the windows and the doors, but no windows and doors. The second picture, that wicker basket, that is where they typically keep their grain and their food. When they harvest it, they keep it there. They rebuild and Berman and stuff. So we set up a program called the Joseph Projects, which builds a big building where they can store that food. The bottom picture, we visited with three ladies. They're related to Wilson Kimball. That was their home. You can see our toes kind of by their toes. That was their living room. The one piece of furniture they had there was a wicker mat that they let us sit on. Very, what we would call very remote. All right, next slide. So this is not an uncommon sight in Malawi, people crawling on the ground. Very big problem over there. Some of them have crawled almost all their life. Going to go to the next slide. So when we were over there, they had a day they handed out mobility units, and they're like a trike, but you wheel them with your hands. So people would crawl over to them, get up on them, and you can see their faces light up, because now they don't have to crawl anymore, and they get all over the place. That second picture there, you can see them in the background there, they were wheeling around the playground area there to the school, and just a life-changing event for them. One thing the company that makes them does, they send a Bible over with each one, so each mobility unit, the recipient gets a Bible. So Dick asked me to hand out the Bible, so I was handing them out. And I just handed out the last one, and two ladies came up wanting Bibles. And I had to say, sorry, I don't have any more. You know, I thought back to my bookcase where I probably got 5 or 10 Bibles that I don't use anymore. And they're wanting Bibles, and so we're trying to get that to them as well. All right, next slide. All right, so ways to be involved. And this is probably the meat of the thing. This is, as I said, I'm not asking you for money. So these are some things I think that you've already been kind of involved in that we can do. Okay, first, next one. So we do what we call Wilson's wish list, and these are just basic things that we take for granted, but they don't have. So in January, we collected communion cups. And in some of the remote villages, they're using bottle caps for communion cups. Which, yeah, it doesn't change the meaning of communion, doesn't change anything. But we look at that and say, I'm not taking that out of a bottle cap. And we don't have to because we have communion cups. So we're sending communion cups over for the churches. And then the other month, we collect things that just, again, are basic to us. Right? If we needed a bar of soap, we go to Walmart and buy a bar of soap. They don't have that ability, so we collect them and send them over. All right, next. Okay, so this is the fire roll. This is what you've been collecting the toilet paper rolls for. And I got one here that, so it's just very, very simple. It's a toilet paper roll stuffed with paper dipped in wax. One of the problems over there is deforestation. They've cut down all their trees. Probably 60% of the people still cook over an open fire. So they need wood. Not only that, but they make a lot of their buildings out of bricks. And to make bricks, you have to have a kiln, if you will, and you have to have a lot of fire. So they burn the wood, so they cut down all the trees, which leads to other bad things. So we're trying to provide an alternative to that. We're still kind of in the beginning phases of this, trying to figure out how best to do it. How best to make it work. We sent some over. That second picture, they're cooking what they call sima, which is kind of like what we consider bread, which is their main dish most of the time. So they cooked it and they liked it. They didn't have to walk 3 miles to get sticks. They just had to put some of the U-bit bulbs under there. So our next step in this, I'm hoping to send over enough for a village for a month. So we're looking at probably 30 houses. Takes about 4 to cook their meals, so they do 2 meals a day. So I need a lot of fire logs to send over. So that's our goal. We're hoping to do that this summer and just test it again. And if they say no, they don't work, we don't want them, then I have a big bonfire. But I'm thinking they're going to say, yeah, they're going to work, and then I'm going to have to get busy trying to figure out how to mass produce them and make them quicker. All right, next slide. So baby packs, and I think, Melanie, I think you may have showed some of the ladies this. It's just a pack of stuff that when the young girls go to the hospital to have a baby, again, we take things for granted. We go in and everything's sanitary. They don't. If you look up there, one of the things is a large black garbage bag on which to deliver. So there's a garbage bag in here. They spread it out, and the girl delivers the baby on the garbage bag. There's things in take the baby home with. So easy to put together. We've seen a lot of ladies groups putting these together to send over to the girls over there. All right, next slide. All right, so corn planters, and they look like this. It's just PVC pipe put together. We've made some changes. This is a smaller one, just as a sample. I took 90 of them up to Indianapolis last week. 40 of them were done by a men's group in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. 50 of them were done by a high school group in Mount Vernon, Missouri. My brother's a preacher at Miller, Missouri, and one of the members, one of the elders there, teaches shop. So I got all the material, and we showed them, here's how you cut it, here's how you glue it, and we got the end product of the corn plant. So, and it helps them so they don't have to get down on their hands and knees to plant the corn. They just walk on, puts in a hole, puts in the grain, and they move on. Okay, next slide. So here's how to donate. I told you I wasn't here asking for money, so we'll go to the next slide. All right, questions. We've got 5 or 10 minutes. Any questions? Yes.
How do you donate?
Back up the slide. And I would tell you, if you collect stuff, I will commit to coming up and get it. Or I'll make Melody pick it up and bring it down. But I will make sure we get it. Just like with the fire dogs, we'll get them. I like driving. My car doesn't like it so much because it's getting a lot of miles on it, but as long as it keeps going, I will commit to coming up and getting stuff. It would be fun to come up and do a day when we stuff and wax toilet paper rolls. So if you want to do that, I'll bring all the stuff up, have a day and have a potluck or something.
What are you stuffing them with? What are you stuffing them with and how are you doing that?
So right now we're stuffing them with shredded paper, and right now it's by hand.
By hand?
So we're looking at other things. I got a guy up in the Chicago area. He does manufacturing. He's looking at ways to do it automatically. We're looking at also, he's got access to wax paper. So we're looking at, can we mix the wax paper with regular paper and stuff it with that and not need wax? So we're looking at some different things. So if you have ideas, please. We're wide open to ideas to make it easier. Otherwise, I'm going to have Melody come down and stuff a couple thousand of them for me. So, she did it once last year for me. Yeah.
They got running water down there?
They do not. Out in the villages, they have no running water. And that's another issue. And there's groups out there, there's a group called Marion Medical. And I know my brother's gone over with them. They're putting in wells. We've done a few wells, but we're not. That's not really our thing. But the villages do not have running water. Big issue is sanitation because again, they're getting water out of water holes where the animals are and stuff. So it's getting better because it's getting attention. But again, there's a lot of people living over there ways that we would not live. Yeah.
Do you guys ever do shoe collections? Like I noticed one of the slides you said a lot of them were crawling. I'm assuming that's where they got jiggers. So I was wondering if that's the reason why they're crawling and if you do any kind of shoe collection.
I don't know the total reason why they're going. Some of them are just born that way. There's some diseases. And what were you asking about doing? What collection?
Shoes.
Shoes. Yeah, we've sent over shoes. We did have a program here a few years back called Shoes for Trees where we give them a pair of shoes and a tree and they would agree to plant the tree in exchange for getting shoes. And I think I mentioned Walmart has given a lot of shoes. They had a shipping container full of shoes here recently. They couldn't get out of port and they couldn't get rid of them, so they called and asked if we wanted them. And of course, Dick said yes. So we took it and shipped them over. So yes, we do collect shoes. And there's a lot of things that we don't ask for, but somebody will say, hey, can you use that? And certainly ask, because it may be a yes. Because when you have nothing, anything is a good thing to have. A lot of them have nothing.
A comment and then a question. When you started your presentation, which maybe I'm the only one that noticed that, but that you could get in trouble raising your hand to ask a question. Because next thing you know, you're on the way to plow it. So
phrases. The first one was Muli Bungee, which means basically, hello, how are you? And the second one I still can't remember, and I couldn't remember it when I was over there. So my trick was as soon as somebody started coming up, I would say, Muli Bungee, Muli Bungee. And then they would respond and I'd say, that's it. So Wilson speaks very good English. There are some that speak 2 or 3 or 4 languages. He does. So he served as our interpreter. I had the opportunity to preach over there. We went to one of the churches, about 250 people. Amazing singing. I have no idea what they were singing, but it sounded amazing. And again, they meet for about 4 hours because some of the people there walk 2 to 3 miles to get there. And while we were there, they were talking about planning some satellite churches so that people wouldn't have to walk so far. So again, they have the evangelism part down. We think we have to go over there and teach them how to be Christians. They know that. And it wouldn't surprise me if here in 10 or 15 years, we're sending missionaries here to show us how to do it. But yeah, they don't speak our language, most of them. So it is, you have to have an interpreter to do that. So. And yeah, you raise your hand, so we'll get you.
I'm on the way.
Yeah.
You said when the supplies are distributed out there, the government gets the medical supplies?
Typically, Wilson will contact the medical folks in the government, and they know which hospitals need them.
So it stays in Malawi or is it distributed outside the borders?
Absolutely,
Okay.
everything stays in Malawi. So when I was there, again, it was during COVID, and we'd sent over a shipment of Clorox. So the hospitals were coming, and there were like 9 hospitals that were coming to get Clorox. I think only 6 showed up because 3 of them didn't have enough gas for their trucks to get there, which is another problem. Their inflation is crazy over there. We look at our inflation, and it's what, 8-9%. Theirs was 27% last year. Inflation. So, so even the money they have doesn't go near as far. But yes, everything stays in Malawi. Yeah.
So these mobility scooters that I saw with their hands, they're pretty durable. I mean, they look like they were on a pretty flat area where they were being demonstrated or given away or whatever. They're made, U.S. made, or what are they? I mean,
So they are made, there's a company in Vermont, Indiana called Mobility International. They make them, they make all the parts, they ship them over, we put them together, but they're like a big metal trike, again with the hands, and the wheels are big enough, they can get over rocks and stuff. So it's not just on flat surfaces, obviously, there are better flat surfaces, but they do get them out where they need to go. And it's amazing because what they'll do is they'll fashion a cart to put behind it. And now the person, instead of being a liability to the village, is an asset because I do some stuff on the cart and they can take it to market for us. So a life-changing thing. Pretty neat thing. So any other questions?
When you said you weren't sure exactly why there were so many of them that crawled or what condition that.
that's what she was saying.
I can probably speak to that. So I do work with Young Living. It's an essential oil company. And we have a team that goes not to Malawi, but to another area. And what happens is a lot of these people don't have shoes, and the sanitation is really bad. And so there's a parasite that gets into the soles of their feet called a jigger. And when that thing burrows into the soles of their feet, they multiply and lay eggs, and they have to be like surgically removed. And it causes these like welts and swelling and just horrible pain to the point where the individual can't walk anymore. And a lot of times the villagers don't understand that that's a parasite, so they think it's contagious, so that they end up like ostracizing that individual out of the village for fear that they might get these things too. And so that person usually ends up starving and or dying because they can't walk, they don't have access to food, and they've been abandoned. So Young Living has a team of doctors that go over there and set up tents, and they spend hours really with like scalpels cutting open their feet and removing these jiggers. And if you're curious, if you want to look, there's tons of videos online of this process, and it is painful. The children have it. It's debilitating, and it'll eventually kill you because if you can't walk, you can't get food, you can't take care of yourself, and you can't
there are some booklets back there, that show more pictures. I like pictures, it's more interesting than listening to somebody, and it kind of gives you an idea. And I would encourage you, Google search the Malawi Project. And there's a lot of videos out there that post stuff all the time. Ask to join the newsletter, you read the newsletter. There's different ways to do it. So anything else? Okay, well, thank you very much. I'll put these things back there as well, and again, thank you for listening to me.
Before we go, do we want to close in a word of prayer? Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for Dan and the ministry of the Malawi Project. Thank you for the opportunity to partner with them in just a small ways. I pray that you would continue to bless the people of Malawi through that ministry, continue to bring people into your church. Thank you for the light that you shine through your church all over the world. Thank you for the opportunity to be a small part of it. Help us to have a good day. Help us to honor you in all we do. Pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Dan. You're welcome. You're good. So how long have you been involved with them, you said? About nine years. 9 years, yeah. Seems like you guys are doing good work. We're just helping people to help people, and that's how the gospel spreads. Yeah, it is. It is. All right.
We'll be right over. Guess what we're having for dinner today?
McDonald's?
Well, no, no, chicken back out of the freezer, so we'll do last time. Yeah.
Well, I just realized. Live stream. That's great service.